Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our Silo Season 2, Episode 6 reaction and review. Hey, look, there's more people screaming and fighting on the stairwells. We have not seen this before all season. This episode, I'm coming out of it with a lot of mixed emotions where there's some things in it that I like. There's a couple of big reveals as a big Billings fan that made me pretty psyched. But then there's a lot of just feeling like, was there too much wasted time in this episode? Were there a lot of things that I just really don't care that much about?
This is the thing. Okay, where is this Juliet story? Like they put it at the very end. They gave us like a minute of story.
Yeah.
After the last episode where it was like she's collapsing on the floor from this infection, is Solo gonna help her? Is anyone gonna find her? Oh my god, I couldn't wait to get into this episode. I was like, I need some answers. It was like when I was watching The Walking Dead. You guys remember that big episode where Glenn was on top of like this canister and he falls underneath and he's surrounded by walkers? I couldn't wait to get to that next episode. I'm like, there is no way that he is getting out of this. And then the next episode was Morgan by himself. An excellent episode, but one that everybody hated because it was like, you can't give such a huge cliffhanger like that and then give us a Morgan episode where we're all just like, well, what happened to Glenn? Like, yeah, let's get through this so we can find out what happened to Glenn. That's where I felt happened here as well, where I was just waiting through this whole episode to be like, okay, Knox, Shirley, all this stuff, okay, I don't care. What happened to Juliet? And I feel like if they had taken this last 2 minutes of Juliet and just put it at the beginning,
Yes.
this would have threaded together much more beautifully. I wouldn't have been waiting through this episode to get to an answer.
Yeah, I think this is an episode that probably benefits from a rewatch more than any other episode of
Yes.
season 2, just for that very reason. So once you find out what happened to Juliet, you can go back and sort of reset your head a little
Right.
bit. We will talk more about Juliet, though, in just a moment. But before we do, be sure to join our Patreon. We've got a link in the description below for that. We are in the midst of covering Dune Prophecy exclusively in video form. The finale of that is coming up very, very soon. But moving into the new year, we are also covering there The Pit, which is a new medical drama from the producers of ER. It's got Noah Wiley. It's got a little bit of a real-time 15-episode format, so it's a little bit like 24. I don't know at what point Jack Bauer's going to come in and kick somebody through a window. We will see, but we're also covering Prime Target, which is a new Apple TV Plus thriller mystery show that we are both really, really excited to get into.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason you don't have Apple TV, we have an exclusive link that is a Matt and Jess link below, that if you click that link and sign up for Apple TV Plus through us, it really helps us here at the channel. It gets you guys Apple TV Plus, where you'll be able to continue to watch a lot of these shows like Silo, Prime Target. We're going to be covering Severance in the new year. There's all kinds of great stuff going on here at the channel and over on our Patreon. Also, big news for Silo. It has been renewed for 2 more seasons,
Yeah.
with season 4 being the final season.
Yeah, and that's a little bit bittersweet. I mean, at the same time, Rebecca Ferguson, I think she's spoken before that she has a 4-season deal to be on Silo. I think they're going to be able to get through all of the Hugh Howey material that has been written. We have not read the books. We've said that on multiple occasions, so no spoilers within the comments. But let's just start here. Let's start with how the show should have started, which is with Juliet and Solo, where, of course, Solo manages to save Juliet, but then it's just sort of like, okay, I saved you. My Solo is my Owen Wilson. There's no real difference between the two. Well, listen, man, I saved you, but no, his whole, just what he wants right now is, okay, you got to help me with the pump. I've saved you. I've done what I can now. If you want anything else, help me with the pump or else.
Yeah, he's taken her suit and he's hid it, and he's in a desperate situation. He has said, I have about 10 months.
Yeah.
This water's just going to keep rising and it's going to kill me. And I know she's like, oh, well, there's also 10,000 other people over at this other silo, but that other silo is not at this point in danger like he's in danger. Like, yeah, if people go outside, then things are going to happen to them. And I understand she wants to get back. But this is a very real end to Solo's life. He's got 10 months and
Yeah.
it's over. So, yeah, I understand why he's really pushing. And at this point, basically just like, I'll give you your suit back when you help save my life. Like I just saved yours.
Okay, Solo, bro, I have some advice for you here that you might want to listen to. How about instead of staying in this silo by yourself that is slowly flooding, and guess what? Even if Juliet manages to fix it, who's to say that's going to last forever? Why don't you just try to leave with her? Like, why is this not a better option for you? I know you've got your quote unquote orders that you need to follow to protect the vault and whatever, but you're not even really Solo. So it's just like, why does any of this matter to you?
I mean, he's been on his own for so long. He may not feel that he can function in a silo with 10,000 people anymore. He may not want to leave, but he may just want to be able to stay, but he needs to be able to not drown. So it makes sense that this was the move he was going to make, especially tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going outside. I think they're going to drain it all out and they're going to find the door that George has talked about. And there's going to be a pathway that connects these two silos together. There's part of me that kind of feels like moving into season 3.
Yeah.
That there will, because there's such discord going on in Silo 18 right now, that some people, once this pathway is found, some people are just going to move over to the other silo and start a new society over there. And, you know, Bernard's just not going to be able to stop it.
No, and that's honestly what I kind of want to see. If Silo 17 is going to continue to be a thing, we've just also heard so much about these blasted tunnels over the course of the past season and a half that we're all just sort of chomping at the bit, where we all kind of know that it's a thing and we all kind of feel like, you know, without even knowing the source material, that there's got to be tunnels linking all of this. It just, from a design perspective, it makes sense. If things are going awry on one silo, you know, the tunnel is there, you can escape. So I just want to see the show really get there at this point. Like, we're beyond the halfway mark of this season, and it's at the point where my patience for the Juliet and Solo storyline is starting to wear a little bit thin, where I was okay with it for, I think, a little bit longer than some people were, just because it's like, it's a new environment. I'm willing to sort of accept it, buy into it, but I want to see her with her people with at least a couple of episodes left this season.
Yeah, I mean, has the show lost its way? Hit that subscribe button if you want to know. No, I'm kidding. It does really help us here at the channel. But like, yeah, if you're enjoying our content, hit that subscribe button. But has the show kind of lost its way? I've seen it really divided online. Some people are really enjoying the two separate stories that are going on. I was enjoying it a little bit at the beginning. Like, it's like, okay, it's cool to see this new silo. It's cool to see Juliet over there with Solo. It's interesting to see what's going on over on Silo 18. But I am getting a bit tired of them being separate at this point. We are in episode 6 now. It feels like the real, like, story for me was Juliet versus Bernard, and with them not being in the same silo, it makes it very difficult to have those tensions as high as they are. Like, I don't feel tension with what's going on with Juliet and Solo because it feels like I know what's coming down the pipeline. I may not know. I haven't read the books, but it feels like they're going to work together. They're going to get the water down. They're going to go through the tunnels. Everyone will be reunited and chaos will ensue. And that's where that story is going. Then on the other side, we've got rebellion, everything with Knox and Shirley and the down below and, you know, trying to fight for food and trying to fight to stay alive and all, you know, getting the truth and the answers. It feels more predictable than it did in season 1, where I was just blown away. Rashida Jones gone first episode, Holston gone the next episode. It was the stakes were so high in the first season, where this season I'm like, it's good.
Yeah.
Like, it's good. But it needs to be, Juliet needs to be with everyone else again. There has to be that tension for me. It feels like it's kind of lost its way for me now.
I feel like what it's really missing at this point, and this is kind of alluding to what you're saying, is it's just missing a big jaw-dropping twist, because there were so many of them in season 1.
You weren't shocked with Knox and Shirley romance?
Nah. I gotta say, I was like, okay, good for you two. I love love. I hope you guys have a happy, wonderful future, and neither one of you get killed in the next couple of episodes, which feels like a good possibility. But I just need, some sort of really big buzzworthy moment on this show because we clearly know it's capable of it. Like I'm
Mhm.
enjoying this season, but yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed season one more just because it had all these jaw droppers, and it also had an advantage in that we were getting to know the world and sort of the world building and how things worked, and there was a lot of just meaty stuff to dive into. But yeah, there are moments this season where it's spinning its wheels a little bit. Like we have seen so many, stairwell battles at this point that I'm not really moved
Yes.
by seeing any of them. I just see it now and it's like, okay, this is loud. When is it going to be over? And there's some repetition, and I know it's hard when you have kind of just like this big singular setting that there's not necessarily that much you can always do, but you can find ways to make it work. Because to me, the best thing that's going on in Silo 18 right now, and I know I am biased because of my unabashed love for Paul Billings, but Billings, my guy, look at you. You're figuring things out. You're like, no, 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 Bernard. This is my time to shine.
Yeah, he's really starting to get some answers. I mean, Patrick gave him some answers and was like, "You're not going to want to hear this,
Yeah.
but you can't unring this bell once you do." Of, what was on this screen. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It was a million times more beautiful than what you have on that page you gave me. It is incredible outside. It's the lie that Juliet is trying to get back to stop from spreading. And now that Billings is starting to get some of this information, he's spoken to Shirley and Knox, who are like, "We're willing to swear on the pact that we did not kill Meadows."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, he always is the guy who just wants to do the right thing. He
Mhm.
wants to know what the truth is. He wants to uphold the law, and he is able to do those things. But now he's fighting Bernard."
Yeah, and I'm always biased against sort of like these quintessential good guy characters as somebody who always plays the good guy option in every video game known to mankind.
Always.
I'm never the renegade in Mass Effect except one time where I felt like I needed to. But it's just like I always root for these sort of quintessential good guys, and I think that is Billings, where he wants to take care of his family, he wants to get answers, he wants justice. Like, I think he does care about Juliet, but I think the conversation with Patrick, I think, is so important because it's kind of getting to this idea where even if you know the truth, like, that saying, the truth hurts, the truth can also drive you completely mad, where you're just sort of sitting back and being like, there may be this big, beautiful world out there, which ironically is not the truth, but that's neither here nor there. But this idea that that there's something big and profound, but you can't do anything about it because either nobody will listen to you or it will get you killed. Like, I'm not surprised at all that this would drive some people up the wall.
Yeah, and this part of the story I'm really enjoying
Yeah.
because Patrick's sharing this information with Billings, who believes that this is true, and they all believe that it's true. They don't have any other information to not say it's true. They watch Juliet walk over the hill,
Yeah.
and now there's this information as well. It's all sort of adding together that this could be the truth. It really feels like we're getting to this end game at the end of this season where they're going to be ready to leave, and Juliet's going to have to show up at the last minute to be like, "Please don't. It's a lie."
And if they do that, and if she comes from the tunnel, I will be satisfied with that. Even if you just called the entire thing right now, I will still be really happy with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of our main players are down in, the below right now.
Yeah, they really are. Now, okay, I will go now from one of my guys to another one of my guys here in Lucas, Lucas, I'm just going to send you this message. I still believe in you. Now, I know Bernard has told you some things, you've figured out some things. Bernard has sort of realized when it comes to the legacy and all this other stuff that he's got to make Lucas a shadow if he wants to continue down this road. And of course, Lucas is going to say yes to being a shadow. Look at his position.
Yeah, this was very obvious that this is where this story was going.
Yeah.
That if Bernard is going to bring him up from the mines to decode this letter, it was going to end up in one of two ways. Either he's going to go back to the mines to die and
Yeah.
die in some sort of way, or he was going to have to be made the shadow to keep the secret. And it just felt like Bernard already said it. I have a million guys here that I could have had do this,
Yeah.
but I've chosen you. And it's like, okay, well, if you've chosen him to come out of the mines, he has to have a bigger role. So that role has to be he's the shadow.
Where I think this storyline, as predictable as kind of the setup of it was, this is where I think it could get really, really interesting because there aren't exactly a lot of other characters we're seeing on Silo regularly who know what life in the mines is really like.
Right.
And my Lucas bias makes it that, of course, I want to believe that Lucas is just taking this job because he has to. It's his way to survive. And, he'll eventually turn on Bernard when the opportunity arises or Joliet shows up. But I think the reality is for him, he's experienced a fate that may very well be worse than death. So I think even if the opportunity arises for him to turn on Bernard and use this information that he has, is he going to be so afraid of going back to that position that he's going to relent on doing what he actually wants to do in his heart? Because Lucas is not, the quintessential hero character. He's a little bit shy. He's a little bit nerdy. So I think this is going to be a really fascinating dilemma.
Well, it's also, he's a guy who does like to learn
Yeah.
and he does like to know what's going on. And this is a huge opportunity to be able to learn everything. Once he has access to the vault, I mean, we know how much Solo has learned from the vault.
Yeah.
He's going to have access to unlimited information about the silo, about life outside the silo, what happened before, what's happened after, unlimited. So for a guy like Lucas to become corrupted by wanting to have information and feeling good about having that information, getting to learn all this stuff, I could easily see it going that way. Like, yeah, he's got some feelings for Juliet, but that relationship wasn't fully flushed out in any kind
No.
of way that he would give up information and learning for her.
Yeah, it felt like, and I'm speaking metaphorically here, where Lucas was like, I love you. And Juliet was like, thanks. It felt like that was sort of where things are. So I don't know exactly if that's going to be motive enough for him.
Yeah, and I feel like at this point, we need more than just Bernard. He can't be just the only villain of the silo anymore. And it feels like everybody is kind of starting to turn and rebellion and learn the truth and, all of this sort of stuff. And then here's Bernard by himself as the sort of ultimate baddie trying to save people because outside is bad. He does need to keep everybody in there. They're all going to die.
Yeah.
He knows the truth. So while he's a baddie, he is still trying to keep order so that people don't die.
Yeah.
But there's more to it than that. I mean, everybody's getting spied on. He's killing people.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy. But I feel like besides Sims, who's kind of on the outside trying to find his way back in, there's nobody that's really aligned with Bernard. And I feel like he needs to get a couple more people on his side, and Lucas could be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of this situation is that if Bernard does die or gets removed from the equation, like the show's not as exciting, or at least
No.
to me it feels that way because I mean, one, Tim Robbins is so good, but
Yeah.
two, we all need somebody to root against. But there's a pretty good reason to think why, even with all of this like mounting evidence and planning that's going on, that all of this may still fail because all of these rebellion efforts are so dysfunctional. Like, let's look at them in groupings here. We have the group of people who I think are attempting to try to do some things in a more intelligent manner. People like Billings, who's trying to play the game. We've got Juliet's father, aka Ser Jorah, who is like finding out more and more intel and has already shown he's willing to go against certain rules and obligations that are out there. But I think they're sort of playing the long game. And then you have Knox and Shirley, who are basically just kicking down every door in front of them and are just going completely aggro. And if these people can't get on the same page, it's like Knox and Shirley are going to screw it up for everybody else. And then at that point, there's not going to be enough room or time for Billings or anybody else to plan anything.
Or are they going to screw it up for everybody else? Like, could it be that the sort of long game, the secret, moving the chess pieces around, is that a way that could work? Or is it going to end up having to be force at some point? I mean, Bernard has all the raiders and he has a huge group of people behind him that are able to force people to do whatever they want. We've seen people already like Allison Holston, try to do it the sneak around way to be like, oh, let's move this piece, that piece. Okay, I'm going to try to get answers this way. And we've seen it not work out. Like it just hasn't worked out yet. But we've also seen that force does work. We saw it with the other Silo 17, where they
Yeah.
all just pushed on through and went outside and died, but they got outside.
I think the problem here, to be frank, is me. Because I just don't relate to any of these physical people that I am not hiding six-pack abs under all of this. I'm just saying
Oh, I am a non-athlete. Like I am like a couch rider. There's no way. I am not putting on all that armor and getting myself out. I'm the person who's just gonna be sitting in the cornfield eating.
Well, this is the thing. If we were in the silo, I feel like if we knew these things, we would be more in the Billings trying to plan things out mode. And it's just, I can't relate to what Knox and Shirley are trying to do here. And who knows? Like you said, maybe this will actually end up working for them. It's just I don't understand how, because there's just so many people that are in the opposition to them and they don't have a forced advantage unless there's a way that you can turn a lot of these raiders against Bernard, which I guess it's theoretically possible. You just got to have a lot of information to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you have Camille in there who's keeping information and moving information around, but her motivation seems to be more about getting Rob back in, these good graces and getting him moved back into the position of maybe being Bernard's shadow. But like that ship is sailed, not just because Lucas is in that spot, but Rob and Camille together have made some errors that Bernard has found out about. He just has too many people telling Bernard what's going on, and Rob knows this. So it shouldn't be a surprise to him that he keeps listening to Camille and they keep coming up with these plans that it's going to keep getting back to Bernard. He's going to trust you less and less and less, and now you're the judge.
I kind of feel bad for Sims. Like I will say that
I don't.
He hasn't always done the best things here. I'll make that very clear. But he's just sort of like, I did all this stuff for you, and look where it got me. I'm now in this useless position that I don't like. I can't do anything.
Boo-hoo, Sims. You did all these terrible things and killed all these people, and now you're a puppet.
Everybody's killing everybody on this show. No, I know.
Enjoy your strings.
I know, you're right. It's just like I want to see Sims more involved in the action, and I'm sure at some point he will be. They're not going to sideline Common for the rest of this show.
No.
But I just feel like, Silo's losing its way a little bit. I think this episode, it still had some good moments. It had some things that we can be really excited for, especially when it comes to Billings and where he stands, what Lucas is going to do. But you have Rebecca Ferguson front and center on the poster. And I know she wasn't in at all the second episode of this season. She's barely in this episode. I do think you're walking a very difficult road if you are sort of leaving your biggest star out of significant chunks of what is still a pretty short season.
It's also really difficult when you have a group of people together that work together really well, sort of as foils for each other, figuring things out, and then you separate them. Like we recently covered Slow Horses, the last season that was on, and it was a good season, but it definitely wasn't, for me, its best season, because they took some of the main characters, like especially the main character, River, and they threw him in another country, and he was just completely separated from everybody. And what makes that show work really well for me is when everybody is together, because they all are dysfunctional together, and it's so good and so rich. And then when you split them all up, I just found myself waiting all season for them to get back together so I can see what works well with that show again. And it's the same that I'm having here. Having Juliet not be part of Silo 18 isn't working the way that I had hoped that it would work.
I think River Cartwright is the reason why Silo 17 is flooded.
Okay.
Like, let's just be honest here.
He would absolutely be.
He would be the ultimate oops and now Solo and Juliet have to clean it up. No, but we'll see where this season goes from here. Maybe they can clean up a little bit of the messy stuff. But thank you guys for watching this Silo video, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the other Apple TV Plus coverage coming. Like Jess said earlier, Severance is very much on the way, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon and checking out our exclusive Dune Prophecy videos over there. Thank you so much to our patrons, and we'll see you here next time.